speciality of circle is the circle has a center. This center, from the center, when you draw a line to the circumference of the circle, what is the meaning of circumference? Where I have marked this thing. This is the circumference, okay, outside. Circumference you have learned in mensuration. The perimeter is the other word. So circumference of the circle means this is the circumference. The blue color marked area is called the circumference of the circle. So from the center of the circle, when I draw a straight line to the circumference of the circle, all that are going to be equal. That means if r equal to 3 here, r is called, okay, wait. If this is like, if this is 3, this also will be 3 unit. This also will be 3 unit. And this also will be 3 unit. Okay. So from the center to the circumference, the distance remains the same. And no, so from the center, yes, from the center to the circumference, you call that as radius of the circle. Radius of the circle. Okay, so that is from the center of the circle. The distance is fixed from the center of the circle to the circumference of the circle. The distance is fixed from one point on the circumference to another point on the circumference. So let this be A, let this be B. Okay, so when I draw a line from one point, from one side or one point on the circumference to another point on the circumference, this is called, what is this called? This is called a chord. AB is a chord of the circle. Okay, AB is a chord of a circle. Similarly, you can even draw up 2 points from when the one point here, another point here. When you draw this, this is also a chord. When will you have a longest chord? Which will be the longest chord?
In the middle?
Yes, in the middle. So the one which passes through the center, the one which passes through the center of the circle is going to be the longest chord of a circle. Okay, so assuming this is the center of the circle, any chord that passes through the center of the circle is going to be the longest chord of the circle. And that is called, this longest chord is called diameter of the circle. Diameter of the circle. No, chord, you understood? What is a chord?
Yes, ma'am.
So which is the longest chord? The chord that passes
through the
chord that passes through the center is the longest chord. And this chord, the one which passes through the center, that is called diameter.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so that is called the diameter. Also, you should also understand one more thing. Diameter is passing through the center of the circle, right? I have told you diameter is passing through the center of the circle. So this is the center of the circle. And I have also told you what is a radius. I told you from the center to the circumference is called radius. So from the center to the circumference is the radius. 1 minute, Maria. So here, from the center to the circumference to the left side, okay, it is radius. From the center to the right side, that is also radius. Also, diameter is, you need to understand that diameter, I told you diameter is the longest chord that passes through the center of the circle. Okay. So one more thing which you need to understand along with this is diameter is equal to r plus r. From where am I getting r plus r? From the center to the circumference is 1r. Similarly, from the center to the right side of the circle, to the right side circumference, that is also another r. So r plus r is 2 times radius. So diameter is 2 times radius of a circle. So if I draw a point here, what is it called? The point is lying inside the circle, right? What about this? If I am putting a point there. Yes, you can. They are in exterior point and interior point. And what about if I keep a point on here? Here, that's called the circumference of the circle. Okay, that's called circumference of a circle. So I'm keeping a point on the circumference of the circle. So points can be on the circumference of the circle, inside the circle, or outside the circle, interior or exterior of the circle. Okay, now how do you know whether the point is lying inside the circle or outside the circle, given that you know the radius? Okay, so if the distance from the point to the circle is, this is the center of the circle. Now, if the distance from the center of the circle to the point, okay, to this point is smaller than radius. Are you understanding what I'm saying? So if the distance from the center of the circle, you don't need to write, Maria, just understand. Distance from the center of the circle to the point is less than radius, then the point is lying inside the circle. Do you understand what I wrote here? If the distance from the center of the circle to the point is smaller than the radius. Radius is, say, this is 5 and this is 3. Okay, 3 is smaller than 5, right? So if the distance is smaller than the radius, that means the point is lying inside the circle. Understood? Now, similarly, if I say the distance from the center of the circle to the point is greater than the radius. Okay, so assuming that this point is 10 centimeter, then the distance from the point, from the center of the circle to the point, let it be P here, let this be Q here. This distance is more than the radius. That means it is lying outside the circle. Okay, so here, if the distance is, I'm writing the distance as B, distance from the center to the point, okay, center of the circle to the point. If distance is lesser than radius, then the point is lying inside the circle. If the distance is greater than radius, then the point is lying outside the circle. Now, the distance and the radius both are same. Same means R, D equal to R. The distance from the center of the circle to the point, assuming this is the point, okay? This is the point. So the distance and the radius are equal. Then the point is on the circumference of the circle. Understood? So these three are the conditions. If distance from the center to the point is smaller than radius, point is lying inside the circle. If the distance from the center to the point is more than the radius, then the point is lying outside the circle, which is the case of Q. Now, distance from the center of the circle to the point, both are equal. If the distance and the radius both are equal, then the point is lying on the circumference of the circle. See, I am drawing a circle. Okay, now drawing a circle. Now, when I draw like this, there is a, I'm drawing a line that just touches the circle. When that line touches the circle, it will actually be touching only one point. So when I'm drawing, you might be thinking that it is touching so many points the circle. But no, actually, when you draw, in actuality, it actually touches only one point on the circle. Okay, so I'm drawing a straight line. Say PQ is a straight line that just touches the circle. Okay, when this is just touching the circle, this line PQ is called a tangent. Okay, all this you will learn in higher classes, but at the moment just understand that a straight line that touches a circle, okay, that just touches a circle externally, okay, just touches a circle, that's called. So how many points it is touching? It is touching only on one point on the circle. Okay, if it just touches at one point on a circle, that's called a tangent. Now, so when this straight line is actually cutting the circle, or in other words, or in mathematical term, it is intersecting the circle at 2 points. Okay, so straight line is intersecting intersecting a circle at 2 points. Okay, a straight line is intersecting. Intersecting means cutting, that's all. Okay, intersecting at 2 points of a circle. It is called, that straight line is called, when a straight line is intersecting a circle at 2 points, it is called secant. Okay, SECANT, secant. Okay, so what did we learn earlier? When a straight line touches only one point at a circle, that is called tangent. When a straight line intersects a circle at 2 points, it is called secant. The secant is actually cutting. It's a straight line cutting exactly 2 points at the circle. Such kind of a straight line is called a secant. If a straight line just touches a point on the circle, touches one point, okay, touches one point on the circle, it is called a tangent. Okay, now what is a chord? You have a circle, and from one end of the circumference to another end of the circumference, when you draw a straight line, that is called a tangent. That's called a chord. So I have drawn so many chords here. Okay, so these are all chords. Chords can be like in any style you can draw chord. Okay, from one end to another end, you are drawing a chord. The longest chord passes through center of the circle. The longest chord passes through the center of the circle, and that is called diameter of the circle. Okay, and diameter is equal to 2 times radius. This is what we have learned till now. So what is an arc? Let's see what is an arc. So you have a circle. Again, we are talking about circles, so we will definitely have a circle. Let's draw a proper circle. Okay, I have not drawn a proper circle. So let's think that this is a proper circle. Now, arc means it's actually part of, say for example, it's like this and this. I'm just marking 2 points, A and B. So this is called arc AB. This is how you write it. Arc AB. Arc AB means that is part of the circumference of the circle. Any 2 points on the circle. So I can write this and this. So CD. CD is again arc CD. Okay, that's what we will say. So arc CD means it's 2 points on the circumference of the circle. Okay, arc is part of the circumference of the circle. Fine. So whenever you talk about arc, you have a major arc and a minor arc. What do you have? Major arc and minor arc. So when you look at this, A is considering A and B, A as the starting point and B as the ending point. this is very small, right? When I say arc AB, this is very small. Whereas if I say this part, which part? If I consider this as A, I mean, starting A to B, I can reach A to B in two ways. One way is how I have marked using red color. Other way is how I am marking using the green color. I can reach from A to B in two different ways, right? One is one is the path followed by red color, and the other is path followed by green color. Which is longer way? Which is the longest path?
The green color, ma'am.
Green color one. So the bigger one is called major arc. The longer one is called major arc, and the smaller one is called minor arc. Understood? Major and minor. That's all. So major arc is bigger arc and minor arc is smaller arc. Whereas the starting point and ending point will remain the same. From A to B, you can reach if you follow red color path, or from A to B, you can reach if you follow green color path. Whichever way you follow, you get either longer one is major arc, shorter one is minor arc. Understood? So whenever I refer arc AB, okay, so in maths, it's like this. When I say arc AB, actually they are referring to minor arc. Okay. When I just say, I'm not talking about major arc or minor arc. I'm just saying arc AB. When I say simply arc AB, that means they are talking about minor arc. And if I want to talk about major arc, I have to explicitly say major arc AB. You have an arc AB. So when I join this A and B, I am getting a chord, right? When I join AB, I am getting a chord. Okay. Now this portion, this part, okay, this part, this yellow color marked area is called a segment. Also, the other part, which is another point is maybe I'll give another color. This is also a segment. This part is also a segment. Fine. So two segments we are getting. Just like when I discussed about arc, I told you we are getting one major arc and minor arc. Similarly, you are getting a major segment and a minor segment. How are you getting that? When you're drawing a chord, it is actually dividing it into two segments. Okay. Every chord. So the point is every chord divides a circle. Every chord divides a circle into two parts. Okay. And they are called segments. Every chord divides a circle is dividing this circle into two parts. They are segments. So this is first segment, this is second segment. Or you can say this is minor segment, that means smaller segment. And the one which is bigger is called major segment. Understood? So we have minor segment and you have got major segment. Got it? So minor segment and larger or major segment. So when you divide, see, when you, I told you largest chord. Which is the largest chord? Which is the
Ma'am,
largest chord? Diameter.
the one
Right?
which
Goes through the center. So this is also a chord. So now you tell me how the segments are. This is one segment, right? This is one segment. And the other one, the other half is also another segment, right? So in this case, don't you think both the segments are equal? There is no minor segment and major segment. Both the segments are of equal size. Why? Because a diameter is actually dividing a circle into two equal halves. Okay, diameter passes through the center of the circle, right? So this diameter is actually dividing the circle into two equal halves. Minor segment is not an arc, but this part, arc means this part, circumference of the circle. 2 points on the circumference of the circle gives you the arc. Okay, when I say minor segment, segment is the inside part, a chord and the area enclosed by a chord. This is the chord and the arc. That is the segment. The area enclosed within the chord and the circumference of the circle. Right? That is called the segment. So anyway, coming back. So when when the chord is the diameter, it actually divides the circle into two equal segments. There is no minor segment, there is no major segment. Both are equal. So that is called, in this case, this you don't use the word segment and all that. What do you use? You use the word semicircle. Okay. Yeah, this is called semicircle. When the chord is the diameter, you use it is actually dividing the circle into two equal halves, and you call it semicircle. The next point is, what is a sector? What is a sector? Sector is, okay, I have again a circle. This is the center of the circle. From the center, I am drawing one radius. Then I am drawing another radius. Okay. So I am drawing two radius. So let this be P, let this be Q. So can I call PQ as a arc? There are 2 points on the circumference of the circle. So what is an arc? Arc is any 2 point on the circumference of the circle. That is called arc. Okay. So PQ is an arc. So OP is one radius, OQ is another radius. Okay. OP is one radius, OQ is another radius. So definitely PQ is a arc. Arc PQ. Okay. Now the area enclosed by this, by two radius and an arc. Okay, this, look at this. This is an arc and two radius. So the part or the area, the part of the circle enclosed by any two radii. Radii means, radii is the plural of radius. Okay, when you have more, when you are talking about more than one radius, you will say radii. So the part of the circle enclosed by any two radii and an arc is called a sector. Got it? So what is a sector? Sector is there are two radii. OP is one radius, OQ is another radius. Now, what is this endpoint? Endpoint is P, and here it is Q. Okay. P and Q. What is PQ? PQ is an arc. PQ is an arc. So the area enclosed by an arc and two radius of the circle are called a sector. Okay. So if in the same context, if I just draw like this, let this be AB. Okay. Now this is, I have a chord and RKB, the area or the part of the circle enclosed by. So look at this, part of the circle enclosed by a chord and the corresponding arc is called segment. Okay. So what do you mean by chord? AB is the chord, and which is the corresponding arc? This AB. This AB is the corresponding arc. Now this gives me sorry, this gives me the segment. Okay, so did you understand the difference between sector and segment? Sector means arc and the area enclosed by an arc and two radius. Okay, arc and two radius. Whereas segment is a chord and an arc. Clear? Are you all clear with the difference between sector and segment? Yes.
I understood both.
Yeah. And also, so basically, if you have a circle like this, if you have a circle, this is the center of the circle, right? Assuming that's the center of the circle. Now, I am drawing a straight line like this, and I am drawing a perpendicular from here, and that touches again the center of the circle. Okay, so this is going to be 90 degree. Got it? Perpendicular means 90 degree. This is OP and this is OQ. Center to circumference is radius. Center to circumference, this is also radius. Fine. So this is again 2 radius. So can I consider this as a sector? Can I consider this as a sector? Yes or no? This is an area enclosed within 2 radius and an arc, right? So this is 2 radius. OP and OQ are 2 radius, and PQ is the arc. Okay, so this is a sector. But this sector is called a quadrant. This is called a quadrant. Quadrant means 1/4 of a circle. Okay, quadrant means 1/4 of a circle. So this is exactly here, this OQ is perpendicular to OP. OQ is perpendicular to OP, and then the sector thus formed is called quadrant. Okay, so basically this is a circle enclosed by 2 mutually perpendicular radii. Mutually perpendicular radii means OQ is perpendicular to OP and OP is perpendicular to OQ. So that is what is called mutually perpendicular. Both of them are perpendicular to each other. OQ is perpendicular to OP and OP is perpendicular to OQ. Such things are called mutually perpendicular. So when you have a circle enclosed by 2 mutually perpendicular radii, we have a quadrant. What is the meaning of quadrant? 1/4 of a circle.